So my name is Eric Griesbach. I'm responsible for the off-highway filtration for our industrial or off-highway machine division for North America. So I joined the company about 3 years ago, and shortly after joining the company, I went to Germany. I met with our leadership that hired me, and they said, Eric, we have, in the US, in our off-highway segment, we have a relatively low market share. We want you to go fast. We want you to figure out how to grow the market in the US, and we want you to take risks. So little did they know that only a few months after that discussion, an opportunity was going to come our way that would really test that direction. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. But first, a little background. A little bit of a background about the off-highway segment. So this is a part of our traditional business, and traditionally this part of the business it's risk averse. The companies, the customers, the suppliers, they're very careful with bringing new products to market. They go through a very procedure-driven, step-by-step process to do all the testing, do all the validation before they introduce it to the market. And there's also a very, I would say, conventional supplier-customer relationship, meaning the supplier would do their thing, the customer would do their thing, the roles are clearly defined, and the level of transparency between them is sometimes, it's not what it could be. So what I'm here to talk about is this project right here that we launched with John Deere a few months ago. It's called the Easy Change Oil Filter. And the application is a small lawn tractor that somebody can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and buy and take it home and cut their grass. This project name started as Quick Change, but eventually it became known as the Easy Change. But the Quick Change theme, I guess, fit my narrative, so I stuck with it for this presentation. So when John Deere came to us, they said, hey, we've got this idea. We want the end user to change the oil and the filter in 30 seconds or less with no mess. Typically, to change the oil, you would drain all the oil out of the engine, replace the filter, fill it back with oil, and typically you'd have a big mess. But their mission was to take a higher level of convenience, a higher level of ease of use to their customers. So when I brought this idea back to our leadership, the first thing they said is, well, that's exciting. We've never done this before. Nobody's ever done this before, but let's go for it. Let's try it. So then we kicked off the project, and when you do something, in our world, this is a pretty radical change of doing something like this. And so at first, change is hard. People are somewhat resistant to do something different. Nobody's put oil in an oil filter before, because this meant that when a consumer went to the shelf to buy a new filter, it already had oil in it. It's kind of like an inkjet cartridge for their tractor. But after we got through all of those initial obstacles, the team really embraced this concept. The biggest challenge was we had about 18 months to take this from concept to production, which, in a traditional market normally would have been about a 4-year process. To really make it successful, we had to have management alignment. We had to do many things in parallel with our customer. We couldn't just do all the traditional steps and launch the normal process. So we had to launch validation and testing and design in parallel to the same time of launching the production equipment in order to make the product. When we started this, we had this called Wavelock technology. Is a design, is a concept that we developed that allowed a normal spin-on filter to be taken on and off with a quarter turn. And that was really the foundation of this product when we started. We thought, hey, we've got this bayonet, we've already developed this, we're ready to launch to production. That's the hard part, the filter. Keeping oil inside would be the easy part. The reality is, this ended up being the easy part, and keeping the oil inside was the difficult part. So when the project started, we started with a semi-traditional approach. So John Deere, our customer on one hand, was working on the first proof of concept. We had our version on the other hand, and we were working somewhat in parallel. But we quickly realized, both of us, that doing this independently of each other was not going to meet the functional requirements, it was not going to meet the timing requirements. So then we shifted to have a much more collaborative approach, worked on our first concepts to drive the cost out, to get the performance where we needed it. And I would say it was a limit of transparency and collaboration initially. But then we started having system problems. It turns out that making a clean oil change wasn't that easy. The interaction with the engine caused a lot of complications. All of the mechanics inside the filter had a lot of system things that we had to resolve. So we really had to really step up our collaboration and really do a rapid design, build, fail, design, build, fail cycle until we finally got to the design that's on the right, which is what we launched in production. The other challenge we had there was to get ready for manufacturing or for a start of production, we had to launch all of our equipment, and when the design's changing, it made it much more difficult for our manufacturing guys to build that equipment. So it was a lot of hand-in-hand working together. As the design evolved, we had to make sure that the production equipment matched it. One of the key things that really made it successful was this guy in the upper right. He joined the project midstream, and at the time we were about a month or about 8 months from production. He joins the team and he said, "Hey guys, you know, I see the technical challenges you're having. I think we need to change our design a little bit in order to solve those challenges." And we said, "Hey, there's no time. We have to get ready for production." And in the background, he kept working to overhaul the design. And he took a very visual, very simplistic approach. One day he came into the office with a pressure cooker. And I said, "What are you doing with this pressure cooker?" And he said, "Well," he looked at how the cover was engaged on the pressure cooker, and he said, "We can probably incorporate that into our design a little bit." The next day he came in with, I think, like a water bottle from a water cooler. And he said, "Look how when you take this water cooler off, the water stays inside. Similar to when you take the filter off the engine, we need the to stay inside." So he was constantly striving for visual, everyday examples of how we could apply it to the design. And that's really what led us to the breakthrough innovation to solve the customer problems. And then finally, as we're doing all these things, again, it's all simultaneous. We're developing and designing in parallel to doing field testing. We're doing our bench testing to do all the validation. And at the end, really the result was a win-win-win. You think about, I think Charles mentioned, we're not supplying a filter, we're supplying a value to our customer. The actual filtration on this application, it's pretty low-level filtration. What's not low-level is the amount of value that we bring to our customer. So they're winning by having differentiation in the market. They have a revenue stream now from the service filters, where previously this was a very commoditized item, and they weren't getting much of the sales from the service parts. Excuse me. The end customer wins because now they have a more convenient way of changing their oil. We win because now we have a higher level of stature with the customer. Next week we're receiving an innovation award from Deere on this project. In addition, this is the biggest project that we've ever had in terms of revenue in the off-highway segment with MANN+HUMMEL. So for us, it's a huge win. And so to wrap it all up, I'd like to show you a video which puts it in action, which it's a video put together by Deere. It's on YouTube, it's on their website, and really explains the value that they're bringing to the market.
We've changed the oil change. So now anyone can change your oil in only 30 seconds. Max. Easy. There's no mess, no fuss, no problems. Just align the arrow on the system with the notch on the engine, and it's locked in. Done. There's even a place on the canister to write the date of your last change. Your last easy change, that is. The Easy Change 30-second oil change system. Only from John Deere. And only on select E100 series lawn tractors.
And again, doing this with our conventional approach would not bring the value to Deere that we could have otherwise, that we did bring to them. And it's a great example of the faster paced innovation that we're doing on the traditional side of our business.